Rush Limbaugh has a brilliant theory on who to blame for the situation in Baltimore. Let's listen.
Baltimore's 60% black. The police department's run by African Americans. Everything, we got an African American president. Where's all this oppression coming from? Who's doing all this oppressing? That's the one thing that hasn't changed. It's just another thing that hasn't changed. The excuses given, the reasons given for this. And every time there are riots, they are justified by people on the left. That hasn't changed either. There is one thing that could be strikingly different about this circumstance from others, and most notably recently Ferguson. And that is, you really have to look hard to find a racial component in this. You don't have a white police chief, you don't have a white mayor, you don't have a white cop that gunned down a supposed innocent young man walking down the street pondering his first days at college. What you have here, we have man-made city warming, if you want to look at it this way. To borrow a little bit from the modern-day global warming meme, Baltimore and Ferguson burn due to man-made liberalism.
Baltimore burns due to man-made liberalism. Okay, here's my question for Rush Limbaugh. Do you even have, like, a second point you make? Rush Limbaugh's entire show, for all these years he's been on the air, I think it's been 73 years on the air, everything is just blame liberals. I honestly don't know if I've ever even heard a second point. Whatever the situation is, forget the facts, forget, like, news articles that might even make more nuanced conservative arguments. He's just, copy and paste, I blame liberals. Something bad happened? Liberals. It's got to be liberals. You might be saying, well, Kyle, you're stretching here. Okay, 3 examples. Robin Williams, when he committed suicide, Rush Limbaugh blamed liberalism. I'm not kidding. Go look it up on YouTube or look it up in the SecularTalk archive, because we discussed it at the time. The rise of ISIS, blamed liberals. Blamed liberal professors at universities for increasing recruitment for ISIS. That's rich. Not George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, who broke Iraq and de-Baathified the government, then the Baathists joined ISIS. So not Dick Cheney, not the neoconservatives, no. Liberal professors. And, of course, the downfall of America, repeatedly. Oh, I blame liberals. Downfall of America. I blame liberals. Everything is just insert something here, blame liberals. Your show is so tired. I'm sorry, but it is. I mean, it's never, ever, ever deep. There's never any other points. There's never... Again, at least with Bill O'Reilly, the guy's an asshole and the guy's wrong about 95% of stuff, but at least every once in a while he makes you stop and think and go, that was a clever way of putting it. That was an interesting argument. Now I need to Google research something in order to debunk his argument. Whereas with Rush, it's just like, do you have any other point to make? Any other point? Every point is blame liberals, blame liberals, blame liberals. And did you hear the other thing he said? Hello, we have a black president. Can't be racism anywhere. We have a black president and a black mayor in Baltimore. Can't be racism. By definition, it can't be racism. Look at the way that this guy thinks. To him, there's no such thing as a systemic flaw. To him, there's no such thing as, a culture of policing, for example, that leads to treating minority communities in a certain way. To him, there's no such thing as, like, policy issues, right? Substance. To him, it's just like, me see black man as president, me see black woman as mayor, can't be racism. Is that really how you think? Are you really that much of a dim bulb? And notice how he was like, and there's nothing here that could explain what's happening in the streets of Baltimore. There was no abuse of anybody, no kid getting shot or anything. Hello, Freddie Gray. Yes, he might not have gotten shot and killed, but his spine was 80% severed and he died. And remember the way that story unfolded. He looked at an officer the wrong way. and then he ran. So the officer naturally took off after him, then beat his ass. His leg was broken as they dragged him to a van. Then they handcuffed him behind his back and started hitting corners hard and driving wild, and he ended up severing his spine in the ride. And actually, to be clear, we don't even know if it was just from the wild driving, the rough ride that he was on, or if they just further beat the shit out of him and severed his spine. But his spine is severed and he's dead. What do you mean there's no, like, he makes it seem, again, like all the Fox News hosts, like, guys, don't ever think that there might be some sort of underlying reason or like a root cause which led to this outcry and this backlash in the black community in Baltimore. Don't look at that at all. Don't discuss that at all. It must just be because that's how they are. These black people in the inner city, they're like animals. They can't help themselves. They're violent by their nature. That's the implication, and that's the insinuation when you say something like, there can't be any deeper problem, and I see a black president and a black mayor, so it can't be racism by definition.